As you all know, most of my squad strategy revolves around using fob placement or using spawns to compensate for microplay, or to compensate for having a disadvantage in terms of numbers. If you have enough speed and you can get people in the right place at the right time, you can be worth many times your number. Now this is fantastic if you're playing on a large open map with a 3-lane RAS where a majority of the enemy team doesn't even know where to be off staging phase, but it becomes a hell of a lot harder on a map like Kohat AAS V1 where everybody knows where all the objectives are, and the map itself doesn't really lend itself well to fast, rapid redeployment of anything. It can still be done, but everything requires more thought and everything requires more time. It's not quite as bad as something like Korra, where you have, one option for flanking and a single rifleman can lock it down and prevent you from being able to do anything, but it's definitely not as easy as an open map like Goro or Yiho. Anyway, all of this will be relevant as you watch the match progress, and I'll go back to this topic, but let's get into it.
Advance and secure. Push out and secure all objective areas.
Beer, do you want to run Bradley or what?
Bad.
I need a third man, by the way.
Before. Oh, Bellas. Just, yeah.
Why this server?
Whitelist.
Fuck Fiasco, I hate your fucking clan tag.
It's easier
But-
to find me now.
But,
Captain,
first
where
of
the
all,
fuck are
fuck you. Second of all, grab a logi, please.
Restarting squad so my in-game mic works.
Do you want an MRAP?
Too few of us.
If you want to get on the objective. Your mic's cutting out.
Too few of us.
button for like 2 seconds.
Can I get seat 2? Thank you.
Got me in there,
That's
Cap.
my seat.
The goose.
Approved tank.
I already approved it. Go
Now
for a
it's a
different one.
balance.
6
Some
has that one now.
movement.
God damn it.
Yeah, I got you the other one. And you just left it. No, you're trying to claim literally every single logi right now.
Give me all the tanks.
Yeah.
They should all belong to us.
Alright, Goose hop in with or Sniffles hop in with me in the heli. Goose hop in with Butt in the truck.
You trust me to drive? Okay. Famous last words.
Now this is a really interesting staging phase for a few reasons. First off, I start out with 5 people, and then I upgrade to 9 people because a few people ask for invites. And so while I'm looking at the map right now, I'm kind of thinking of myself as a 5-man, and that's not going to be true by the time I leave the staging phase, but it's going to be what I form my plans around. Similarly, people just aren't really talking in command or placing marks, so I'm actually going to be the first one to place a mark. Now, usually, as you guys know, I like to base my plan around what the rest of the team is doing and try to influence the rest of the team to get an ideal strategy for the layer. However, this layer can actually get kind of complicated when it comes to the ideal pub strat, because there is a lot of rushable points and it's AAS. Everybody knows where all the flags are. So, Malakabad, of course, is the midpoint and is the standard play. You want to push the mid, always, but Chakar Khat is going to be rushable. Similarly, Madzai is a great rush. If we get a fob over there, we could potentially kill their cappers there. And it's pretty common to see a lot of squads go to all 3 of these centralized objectives. You can also pull off other plays. Lodi Kel is something I could be rushing in a helicopter potentially, and that could be valuable. But usually in pub games, I prefer to take a safer mid option where I can react to shortcomings in the team, rather than trying to go for aggressive strategies and then hope the team figures itself out behind me. Also, a combination of just how I was feeling at this exact point in time, combined with the amount of talking that ends up happening in staging phase as I try to get people invited to my squad who are asking, and the fact that my mic is still being really fucky in squad lately, so I don't even know if it's going to work, all combined to make me not really feel like or have the capability of talking to the rest of the team much. So instead of waiting for everyone to place their markers and then trying to form it into something more effective and decide what I'm going to do based around that, I'm just going to immediately throw my marker down on the mid, and not even think about it too much and just go for a straight midpoint rush. Now, considering that I had 5 people, in my squad, or at least I was under the impression that I would have 5 people in my squad, it doesn't really make sense for me to do my usual strategy of grabbing the mid and back capping. So I was kind of in the mindset of choosing one or the other. Should I grab the mid and maybe grab a back cap and try to get the team to cover the rest? Or should I try to cover the back caps and get the team to cover the mid? And ultimately I decided to go for the mid because Angatar is a heli pilot here and I want to utilize the heli to get to a midpoint as quickly as possible. I don't want to leave that for another squad. We have a rare opportunity here where I can fully trust a pilot, and that's going to be very useful for getting to Malakabad. Now, Chakarkat was also a very good option for me here. I mean, I have a smaller squad, so I can counter-rush it fairly effectively. It's a really, really common rush in pub games. But ultimately, I'm just banking on the idea that I can only do one, and I'm going to choose to do Malakabad, just in the worst-case scenario. And then if my team starts placing marks, I can start adjusting to those marks and forming my plan around what the rest of my team is going to be doing, as I normally do.
Can I go with you guys?
LZ and Radio Mark.
Are we back at him?
Maybe. I'm going to see if I can't get somebody to go hang out. Depends.
Guys who asked for one?
I didn't see that. Oh, I see.
Where's Beard?
Are you in, Beard? Or you have to switch teams?
I'm gonna switch fucking teams.
Oh, that's gonna be hard.
Sorry guys, didn't see your message. Go ahead and hop in the heli. Squad 1's heli.
Alright.
No, 18.
Should I do what?
No, we're good with both hats. Why are we hogging the hats? You guys are terrible. You can grab whatever you want, Legend.
Are you gonna more AT would be nice, just in case. The like Shinobian?
Yeah, if you get
I did.
another Carl Gustav,
Or I invited
that'd
him.
be perfect.
He might have just joined something else.
Yeah.
Choppy, you said?
Yeah.
What's
Hoppy
that?
and the-
Choppy.
Yeah, he joined my squad.
Hoppy and the Bobby's Hoppy.
He wants an invite for him and his 2 buddies. I'm sorry about this.
Poppy and the little bopper.
Tell him I'll
Poppy and
unlock.
Poppy.
Why do all you guys sit on your helmets? So we don't get our balls blown off.
Oh, what a
Okay,
great
just hit
idea.
Katazai on the Logi.
Too bad the bottom of this chopper has armor. So your balls won't get blown
Jesus
off, just your
fucking
fucking
Christ.
head. Your fucking head will get blown off, but not your balls.
Where's everyone else going?
Standing by.
So at this point, I'm just assuming the worst case scenario right now. There's a 9-man who put a move mark on the first flag, which is not ideal at all, but it's too late. The move marks are going down too late. I haven't communicated in time. I can't just tell that guy go somewhere else. I need that first flag covered anyway. So it's just a bit of a fuck it situation. We'll get everything else. We're going to the mid. I have people who are joining now late, so I can have them spawn there and push Jakar on foot. Not ideal, not efficient, but at the very least we can get stealth cappers up there. And then I'll just have the Logi drop off at flag 2, and we'll have everything kind of covered.
Unlock, I think he's waiting.
Sorry.
Anyone else? Just you two?
Babushka also. 1 second, I'll let him know to go on the side.
Hey, hold your spawns for Malakabad.
The other guy's driving an MREP right now, so on next respawn, he'll leave the squad.
Okay.
He doesn't just want to be a dick and leave. Can you invite Barat? Is that okay?
I'll be out of space with the other guy. But yeah. Okay, all of you guys everyone who has not spawned, once we land and get our spawn constructed, run north to Shakar. Sorry to make you do that, but this team's falling apart. You guys are gonna be the 3 on Shakar, just let me know if anything shit happens there.
Sorry, this guy did not mark it.
I'm gonna go for this segment, I'll see how it goes.
You get the radio done. Alright, wherever you
Or 5's gonna do anything, just wait to dump supplies. So immediately we start solving the mystery of where our team is going. Squad 6 has a move mark east of Kohat, and Squad 5 jumped right on Malak, right where our move mark was. And Guitar had to avoid that heli to make sure he didn't hit it, so he landed us further north. And that guy drops a radio with the other heli pilot. So I just figure we'll dump supplies, we'll combine it, I'll go build an ATGM east. They're really useful on Kohat, especially in the early game. And Squad 6 up north put a move mark on Shakar. Now, I still don't trust it. He was incredibly late getting out of main. He's just using a Logi. It's an easily rushable flag. And honestly, I'm still going to send people north to it to start getting a stealth cap just in case. The walk is inefficient, but they might be able to make it in time, given that we still have to capture the first 2 flags. And now suddenly this isn't looking as bad because we have 2 full squads pushing the mid. I haven't seen a helicopter come in. We're not yet getting contested. And now we have a full squad pushing Chakar, even if it's going to be quite inefficiently. So this game is still really up in the air right now. I need to link back with my Logi and get ready to react to whatever happens. Chakar is still a wild card. They could all be there right now and we wouldn't know. Similarly, Malak is taking no contact right now, but that could change pretty quickly, especially if defenders don't spread out and we don't get any map control. Or things could go perfectly well on both of these objectives and I could be needing to be in position to attack Madzai. Regardless, I need to get back to my Logi and I need to assess what's going on the map. The only contact we get on the midpoint is this light Vic that goes up the hill that you just saw us kill the gunner of. Beyond that, there's no infantry early. However, we are going to eventually see contact on Chakar. Now, I'm going to spend some time with this match picking on Squad 6, and I do want to reiterate that it is nothing personal. I am not attacking anyone, I am just trying to make a video that can educate people on how to play effectively, and Squad 6 is demonstrating some things that you shouldn't be doing. Okay, Pink, keep hitting up Chakar, start the cap, 6 is going to be late. Everybody else, you can stick around Malakabad. You can start pushing Madzai if you want to get control over that. But I'm going to hop in with you. Now the reasoning behind the importance of the midpoint is really simple. Not only is it just a ticket increase if you have more flags than the enemy, but the midpoint is the first flag that can be contested under normal circumstances. Every other flag can be captured regardless of the number of contacts there. You have an inherent advantage on your back caps. In order to utilize this advantage, you need speed. You need to get there before the enemy if possible. You need to get as much people as close to cap range as possible. You need to do essentially what I'm trying to do here. I went to the midpoint and pushed people back to Chakar, and my people are there significantly before Squad 6, which dedicated themselves to it. Now, to be fair, they didn't have a helicopter, but they were very inefficient with getting out of main with their Logi truck, and then they stopped well short, and the only guy who's pushing west is now sitting on top of a hill just looking at the flag. We are about to cap Kadazai, and even if Chakar isn't rushed, we're now going to have inefficient back caps if we were purely leaving this up to Squad 6. What needs to be done on Chakar is a combination of a back cap or a counter rush, depending on what the enemy does. If it's a back cap, they have failed through not getting people onto the flag fast enough to have an efficient back cap. If it's a counter rush, which is the only thing that justifies having as many people as they do there, and on this map, it is worth having that many people. If it's a counter rush, they are failing to do it because they are about to push west into Chakar, realize there's contact, and spend all of their time on top of hilltops shooting at it and getting shot by it. Nobody is going to focus on cap range, and nobody is going to work on utilizing their advantage of being able to stealth cap, except for my guys that I sent up there earlier. So to recap, what is needed is speed and stealth, and what they are doing is building far and shooting from hilltops. Now, when I met back up with my Logi, I had to make a choice. Do I want to go north and try to secure Chakar by building more and try to get map control in the event that our stealth cap fails? Do I want to double fob the mid to make it more defensible? Or do I want to start heading to Madzai? I didn't go to Chakar because there was no contact when I met up with my Logi, and I assumed we're probably in the clear, which ended up being incorrect. They did push it from the west. And I didn't want to go to Madzai because I didn't like the look of Chakar. People weren't really spreading west into the river valley where I'd expect an attack to come in from. And so I wanted to double fob it just in case something did come in from there and wiped everybody and got on top of our hab. But now that I've placed this, I have to decide, north or south. Do I trust my stealth cap or do I try to back Chakar up?
That's right, are we in it?
I'm down.
Cap, I don't know if you have
Where
like
do you
time
need
ready.
supplies? Shakar cut?
We're starting to pound the point for Madzai. I don't know if you want to do anything about it.
Yep. Legend and Shinobi, you guys down right now? Just hold your spawns, get ready for a spawn to go up here. I'm gonna build something east of Madzai.
I just got picked up by this helicopter. I can get him to drop me off at that ATGM or with you guys, whatever you like.
The hab's up. Do I spawn now, Captain?
No, wait for a different hab.
Okay.
Hey, man, do you have any sort of
Just have the heli take you wherever's safe.
what's it called,
Don't
like
risk
artillery
anything.
stuff like that? Yeah, or no?
Not for a while.
Oh shit! All right, we got a mounted machine position looking over your car. It's not letting us near it.
Be careful with that Chikar stealth cap.
Bang,
We're
they got
really
an
fucked if
HMG
one of you
over there.
two dies. There we go, perfect. Alright, so I was watching the north like a hawk. I was preparing for the south, preparing to go to Madzai. We were in position. It looked like the only fob the enemy team had that could contest Malak was currently in Madzai. Our Bradley was pounding it. Things are kind of working out. I'm getting ready to go down there, but I just had to watch Chikar to make sure we actually stealthed it. Now, you heard Six ask me briefly if we had any kind of commander assets because there was an HMG watching him try to get at Chikar. And this is really a great example of why he's doing what he's doing, what his mindset is, and how it differs from the mindset of an experienced player. Squad is insanely fast-paced, and somebody needed to be on cap range yesterday, regardless of the fact that there's a machine gun bunker. There's no way that it's actively pinning down 9 people. Smokes are an option, flanking is an option, getting in your truck and going around is an option. You have multiple ways of dealing with that are time efficient. A commander asset is not just not time efficient, but it's a waste of an incredibly useful tool that can be used for spawn killing. People have this impression that if they get kills, it will progress them along. That right now, because they're on the east and there are contacts on the west, what they need to do is engage the contacts on the west. That's not going to change anything. It's just going to be a limitless hilltop-to-hilltop firefight. If the goal is to get cap range, then you either need to deal with the source of that problem, or if you absolutely have to be shooting at them, every kill needs to gain you movement. Movement is the underlying goal. If you shoot somebody, and then you sit around for 40 seconds and they respawn and go back to the same location and shoot back, you're not getting any advantage. If you shoot somebody and then you actually make it pretty far during the time that he's respawning, you have an advantage. Or if you're just shooting people so that somebody else can go around and deal with the spawn, you're gaining an advantage. But if nobody is moving, nothing is going to change and you're not going to be helpful. Now while I'm driving to my destination, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. There's nobody in the truck with me. Yeah, so I'll go back and I'll play the little clip here of why I thought there was somebody in the truck with me. As you can see, I was fully zoomed out, but was right next to me building the ATGM. And then he hopped in the ATGM, and I mistook that for him hopping in because I was zoomed all the way out, and that's traditionally what happens, is we just build and go. And I assumed that he had gotten in, and I didn't realize it. So while you witness the consequences of these 2000 IQ plays and watch me fruitlessly try to drop a radio, let me explain what's going on with the match. We started taking contact on the mid, presumably from either the south or the west, judging by the marks and judging by the callouts from my squad. Now, I have not looked at the West Hill since I killed that Saphir early on, so I do not know exactly what's happening. What I do know is that there is confirmed a hab inside of Madzai, as spotted by our vehicles. What I also know is that most of the contact appears to be coming from the south based off of marks and movements. So my assumption right now is that the enemy team is working off of 2 habs. The Madzai hab and the one that's up at Chikar that's outdated that isn't going to have any effect on the match. So as I drive to the south of Madzai, I'm hoping not only to build an offensive fob that I can then use to push Madzai, but also take care of the only fob that the enemy team is working on and give us some really good map control for a little while. Now, while I'm doing this, 2 things happen. First of all, Squad 6 stays up north on Chikar. They do not leave. There is contact there, so they are absolutely committed to it, and they refuse to relocate even after it becomes relevant. And I don't really even try to say anything because, as you guys know, my default strategy is to work around this kind of stuff rather than try to confront this kind of stuff. Similarly, the squad that backcapped the first flag, the full 9-man that was running 2 MRAPs, went up to the top of the hill and are now building this fob, I think with a helicopter, to the southeast of Madzai. This is actually about to give me some V9 vibes, if we're being honest. I got a little bit nostalgic for like older versions of Squad because we're about to have 2 squads that are out of position. One that is not reacting to flag changes quick enough, and one that is thinking that building a big super fob on the South Mountain is going to be effective. And this is like almost nostalgic because usually games aren't lost by this anymore. Usually you can be fast enough as a single squad that you can take care of things by yourself, but in AAS, on a difficult to navigate map, gameplay tends to slow down enough and you tend to not have enough spawn gameplay that having 2 full squads out of position is really going to fuck with us. Now the good news is the people north at Shakar probably have an equal number of enemies spawning out there and an outdated position pushing them as well, so it probably cancels out. The bad news is the same can't be said for the southeast, and those guys are immediately going to start opening up on Madzai and calling attention from every single person who is spawning on Madzai to the south. Now in a best case scenario here, people would just be walking off Madzai in a straight line to offense. Very common. In a slightly worse scenario, they would also be pushing this west hill that I'm taking fire from and watching general areas, usually the East Mountains, and having some kind of decent overwatch on Madzai. In the absolute worst case scenario, which is what you're seeing right now, there are people who are already on the western hill who are enjoying playing fob wars and shooting from mountaintop to mountaintop, who are now entirely focused on the south because of receiving contact. In a vast majority of matches, I probably could have been on top of that Madzai hab right now, proxying it easily with this south fob, but that's not going to be the case here when all of the attention is called down south. And it gets worse because that squad then starts shooting a lot of friendlies. So the guy who started shooting at me was a marksman who somebody took care of on the hill, and the guy who killed me was right behind me and we took care of him. But by the time we're pushing Madzai, all of the spawners who are there know about us and are pushing south. All the people who are on the hilltop know about us are pushing south. And the reservists start lighting us up, and we end up with pretty much everybody being wiped and a slow, gradual, blocked South Madzai spawn that is just not going to go anywhere. So I'm trying to get our truck out, and I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on defense, because now that this isn't just an easy Madzai capture, we do have to worry about that. Now, I am still under the assumption that all of the contact pushing defense right now is coming from Madzai, but I have not seen that West Hill recently. Similarly, we do have contact actually approaching our southeast hab, which means they're making progress. They're not being blocked necessarily by the defenders on Malakabad. Now, I want to give a shout out to the initial squad that pushed Malakabad, that's named Malakabad, and Squad 11, because they are our backup this round. They are holding the defense, they are doing well, and they are playing an objective. We have it double fobbed for them. They're not getting the most map control to the south or the west, which is going to cost them, but in the end, I'm happy with those guys. Thank you for playing the objective. But what's going to happen soon is a spawn is going to be constructed to the west of Malakabad. I am still not sure exactly which spawn came first because there were 3 marked on the map. 2 of them I'm very confident were accurate, 1 of them not so much. But regardless, whether it was on the hill west of Malakabad in a valley, or whether it was in the western compounds of Malakabad, or whether it was northwest of Malakabad near the river, a spawn does go down. And while I'm trying to link back up with Angatar here to get supplies back into my truck, a huge attack comes from the west of Malak and basically fucks us over there. Now this really sucks, because in a short amount of time we go from having the entire enemy team making bad decisions, Blue Area migrating from Madzai, thus making them ineffective at attacking Malak and giving us a great advantage to capitalize on Madzai, due to a combination of not watching the west of Malak and our failed attack on the south of Madzai, we go to the polar opposite, where there are now 2 spawns constructed and the entire enemy team is making good decisions by pushing from those spawns, either by spawning on their defense, Madzai, and pushing directly into us to the south, thus blocking us, a very good play, or spawning west of Malakabad and pushing into cap range and proxying our fob, a very good play. We went from the entire enemy team migrating in a stupid fashion to the entire enemy team playing active defense with a close spawn, or stealth pushing our defense. And all of this is happening while we have 2 squads out of position, so I'm trying to talk to Squad 6. You don't need those to sign a current objective.
Yeah, shooting us from behind. It's like hitting machine gun.
Let's say we go help you guys and I take it no matter what. You can't just want to identify.
And there we have the classic logical fallacy of the squad that is either behind or ahead in objective. They do not support the team on active objectives, and then they either pat themselves on the back because we lose active objectives and they are in position to be on defense for new objectives that have become active because of their lack of participation, or they sit on objectives that are too far out, not helping the team on active objectives, and then complain because we lose objectives due to not having their help, and then they have to go back and compensate for our slack in their eyes. Now on the other end of the spectrum, Squad 8 isn't really making great decisions on that south hill, but once I state that the defense is falling, they agree to push to it. Now they are way out of position, they can't get there at any reasonable time unless they're actively dying, which I kind of don't think that they are, so it doesn't really matter, but at the very least they have the right mindset and they are trying to react after being communicated with. As for my infantry, I still had them pushing South Madzai, figuring that even if we weren't going to take the flag from that point, we were distracting the people who were pushing Malak and splitting their focus, which ends up not being true once they build the West fob. And then once that happens and we start losing Malak, I just tell them to push for double newt and die and respawn on our rally. Good news is I built that second defensive spawn for the midpoint, so they are not spawn wiped, and pretty much the entire team is now spawning there and pushing back to Malakabad. And I have my rally to the northeast from when the heli was going down, so I can get a separate flank and have my people specifically spawned there and push Malakabad. So now we have two different groups of people pushing from two different angles trying to secure Malakabad. 6 is staying on Chakar, which is the good call at this point. I've actually had a few situations where the team has yelled at people who stay on outdated objectives like this, and then they actually choose to push up at the exact wrong moment, exactly when we do start losing the mid because they weren't there, and then they just end up not being helpful at all whatsoever. At the very least, 6 is going to be stubborn and stay there, so they will be relevant once Malak is full capped. So now I just need to figure out where they're spawning on Malakabad, because it's somewhere to the west, and I have a feeling that that is pretty much the only relevant spawn they have outside of Madzai at this point, because of just the sheer number of people who swarmed the west. I'm already just making an assumption by assuming they even built a spawn there, but it's highly likely given that they were pushing off Madzai in a blueberry lemming train fashion and weren't doing anything until suddenly they just absolutely swept the house. So I need to put up my UAV when I can and figure out what the fuck's going on at West Malak. I should note that when that western hab marker on top of the hill went up, there was not a move mark on it. Stiff put his move mark on that after the fact to try to see what was going on there, see if he couldn't see a hab. But as far as I know, nobody had visual on that hab. Now it's a reasonable estimation, and I'm assuming it's somewhere around there. I would have thought low ground, but high ground is just as likely if nobody was actually watching west. So I'm going to assume that that's accurate. I'm going to collect my supply that Angatar is bringing me on this checkpoint fob so I don't have to go all the way back to main. And I'm going to get myself into position to airstrike wherever that hab is, with the assumption being that once again the enemy team will be working from Madzai, and I can hopefully make a better push the second time around and deal with the enemy team's only spawn after I take care of Malakabad. Now cutting ahead, I drive over to this weird-ass south fob just to save supply from having to build my own in order to use commander assets, and I'm watching the map. Now, Squad 6 makes a kind of good / kind of bad play here, because if you look at the map here in just a moment, if you ignore this helicopter, which had no gunners, was just scouting us out, the enemy did end up putting down a fob on the river, which you're about to see here. Or not on the river, but on the mountain just next to the river. They took the river out of Maine to do this. And ultimately, Squad 6 is going to choose to push it from Chakar, which is a great offensive play because we need to kill that fob to gain control of Malakabad, but it's a pretty shit defensive play because the enemy still has their western fob west of Chakar and it's wide open right now. So we are on a time limit right now. I need to deal with the Malak shit that's happening. Fortunately, 6 ends up pushing really close and getting a proxy on that hab, so we end up not having to worry about that one. And I put my UAV up in a situation where I could potentially see Madzai, I could see Malakabad, and I could see the West Hill. So that if they have a Malakabad fob, which is possible because we heard a Logi there earlier, I can kill that. Or if not, I might be able to see that river fob, I might be able to see a hilltop fob, or I might be able to see the Madzai fob. Regardless of where their fob is, I should be able to take it down. And we found it.
Yeah, but wait for the medic instead.
That's their hab. It's going to take my UAV a sec to be in position to hit it. Now, while this is all happening, I'm annoyed because I am convinced we are going to be losing our defense right now. 6 is overcommitting to that southwest tab, and there is definitely going to be an attack coming in West Chakar right now. I'm just hoping that we can outpace it. I get the airstrike on Malak, and as predicted, it completely cleans up the west end. 6 had the other one proxied, so nobody starts spawning there either, so that's good for our offense here. Otherwise, they would have just pushed back in and potentially contested us further. I'm fairly sure we still would have gotten Malak if that happened, but you never know. And at this point, I am just crossing my fingers and watching and waiting and hoping that an attack doesn't come from West Malak. Or not Malak, sorry, West Chakar. So as the airstrike is going down, I'm just hopping out, immediately getting in the truck, and just getting ready to build spawns. I want to re-secure Malak so we can at least hold a double neutral, so I'm going to build a western fob there. I'm also just going to drive over that west mountain at this point because I need to know if there was a spawn there. I don't think there was, but if there was and I run into it and lose my truck, it honestly might just be worth it just to know that it's there because it's going to be a problem. And I might even be able to just hold short, drop a rally, and deal with it myself. But regardless, Chakar is just a looming threat, and I'm trying to keep an eye on it. I don't remember if I try to tell Six that an attack will definitely come in from the west. I think I might have just been a little bit annoyed and a little bit not feeling like talking to him. But regardless, I'm going to cut to me driving over that west mountain. We do get confirmation that this completely destroys the Malak Hab.
My guy just dropped the Logi, put the radio down. Oh, he just got shot out of his vehicle. Never mind.
You're not BMP-1 marked accurate.
Roger.
Cop out, kill this truck if it's full, or if it's one-manned. If it's full, we need to let it pass.
Scratch that, I just killed him.
So on the way, we shoot at that Logi driver. We drive directly over where the other Hab was marked and confirmed it's not there. And we have confirmation that everything's gone except Modzai and whatever old fob they had up to the north, which is the main concern right now. So I'm just going to double fob the mid so that we can hold it in the event of a double neutral. And then I'm going to start heading west because I am under the impression that we're going to need to resolve a double neut. And even if that doesn't happen, even if we still fully recap the mid, I still want to be in the west end of the map so I can be in position to flank Modzai again.
Modzai.
I don't trust entirely that Shakar is not about to get fucked. Yeah, Shakar's about to get fucked.
Yeah, true.
Yep. I was trying to do this fast enough for that not to matter. It's been in progress for like the last 3 minutes. It's double nude again if we take Malak.
Go.
We're about halfway on cap.
South Modzai is, or Chakar is an option. We've already got that covered. That fucking helo.
If there was a west spawn on Malak, it was going to fuck everything, so I UAV'd that. There was the west spawn, so that needed dealt with first, which meant we couldn't deal with Modzai, and meant it took long enough that now we're going to have to deal with Chakar, but it doesn't matter because we're on the west end of the map, so I can go deal with Chakar. It's just, we could have been in this situation resolving Malak and gaining Modzai, instead we're in the same situation resolving
5 seconds
Malak
to nuke.
and having to go to Chakar.
I think
Fuck.
Chakar is okay.
Hey, Chakar didn't get
We're about to
fucked.
die.
Look at that.
No, he's fine. He doesn't notice. He doesn't see
He-
us. He doesn't see us. I think he found us.
So that was some shitty timing, and I'm not just talking about the vehicle coming out of main. That's always a risk when I take roads like that, and I do it fairly regularly. I mean, the actual timing of us neutralizing Malak was just a couple of seconds after I could have taken my turn to go south and deal with Modzai, since that was going to be my goal if it wasn't going to go double neutral. But regardless, I mean, it's good because we actually did neutralize Malak before those guys to the north ended up trying to neutralize Chakar, which is fantastic. They wiped everyone, they were right there, they were right next to cap range, and they just didn't move, I think. So we were saved by the enemy not progressing. That or there was like 2 of them remaining and they couldn't start capping. But anyway, I'm still out of truck, so I'm just talking to Angatar, thinking about maybe I'll get a helicopter and hit South Modzai. I want to get my progress going there because I want to be flanking Modzai and putting pressure on it. It's going to be their only relevant spawn, so I don't really even care if I'm not getting a great stealth cap to the south if I'm giving away my location with a helicopter. I would just like to put it down so that we can put pressure on the south so they don't migrate off Modzai onto offense. We can completely surround their last remaining spawn. Ultimately, it doesn't work though, because there are a ton of people climbing the hill to the west of Modzai and they have an ATGM, so I just tell our pilot to wave off. We go back to main, we grab a truck, and we do the exact same thing via truck. The enemy team doesn't really react to anything and start creating other spawns, so we're still basically in the same situation by the time we get down there later.
BB should be okay.
The truck is probably being
Yeah,
recovered.
some
We
more
killed
running
one
up the
there.
hill, so I was chasing.
Yeah, I just killed the guy
I can
on
gun
you.
it out if you give me an angle, or
I
someone
know,
can.
I know. I watched them
I have an
die.
angle. Should I gun it?
Yeah,
I'm
gun
scared,
it.
bro, for your life.
I just.
It's out of it.
Oh, we need to go. We need to
Oh,
go.
we're
We
gonna-
need to go. Tons on
This
Modzai.
one.
Oh,
Sorry, I gave you a bad LZ.
Taking shots from way far away southeast.
This just goes to show why helis are terrible for placing offensive fobs, and oftentimes even defensive fobs. We could have coasted in there with the truck no problem and nobody would give us a second glance, but instead we took the attention of everybody. And normally I would have just waited for a truck to spawn at main and taken it off the bat if it weren't for the fact that I wanted pressure on their only fob, as I mentioned already. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. We get back to main as our truck is spawning and just take that and do the exact same thing we did earlier in the game, but this time without a massive squad to our south shooting over our backs.
We should be fine again. They haven't spotted us yet.
If you're down, use the new spawn, push mod site from the south, do not make noise. It's not burnt yet.
Commander, one tango going your way.
Just get it to spawnable, but it's time sensitive.
It's almost up. Spawnable, moving.
Everybody who's down, spawn where I'm at.
Hey, squad
Push north.
5. Mark spots throughout mortars.
The fob should be roughly here.
Resupply that have, it's a hot resupply.
East fob just got A10 or SU. We get one chance of this. Okay, we get one effort. Try to get within 30 meters of Hab and hold the proxy.
We're using to rebuild the hab.
I think, if I remember correctly, this doesn't actually lead through. You have to go to the wall down south and vault it, yeah. Use me to get over.
They're on our hab. Actually, here, send it. It mortar right here, on my mark.
The south one?
Right there, right there. Yeah, the one you just put at the start.
Okay. I'll go back for that. Everybody else keep pushing Budseye.
It's possible I traded. It could have been one guy. Is he dead?
I'll hit you up so you can help me with it.
Roxy.
Shinobi.
Hey, Squad 7, you see the mortar mark where my attack mark is? How those
Okay, we should be good on the south. Keep pushing Budseye. We're starting to move cap
Should be
range.
hitting right by you.
I'm digging the radio. Thank you.
Oh yeah, he's dead. I traded.
Yeah, they were.
One shovel, everybody else cover it.
They almost
Good
got
trade.
us.
We're neutralizing Budseye.
C4's down. Let's finish the dig.
But give up spawn truck.
C4 is down. We dark it. I'm not sure if it's enough. C4 is in.
We didn't even cap it. I was gonna get ready for Baller. That's a
Dude! Oh my god.
What did you kill?
Fucking
probably
60
left.
kills!
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
GG. I'll be there.
Oh, no doubt.
I'll be Heat Squad.
Except for me.
So taking a look at this scoreboard, we had 20 for the midpoint. We never full capped Mudzai, and then there was a difference of 40 for KD in our favor, and then the rest is all vehicle and radio kills. So that is 34 tickets. Shout out to Stiff, Beard, and Obi and the Bradley there. That was basically all of our KD advantage, and then I'm sure they went good enough on Vix to make up for the one death at least. So shout out to them, because I'm pretty sure every infantry squad went negative that round. In the end, we were definitely on course to cap Mudzai, so it probably wouldn't have mattered too much, but it's good to know that if we did go double newt, we still stood a chance through KD and Vix.